The Abrams playbook is out today. Here it is. Got that? There. Yeah. Stacey Abrams has issued an urgent 16-page memo to the Democratic Party telling them, quote, next year, Georgia will be the premier battleground state in the country. When analyzing next year's political landscape and electoral opportunities, any less than full investment in Georgia would amount to strategic malpractice. We can win Georgia. Stacey Abrams talked about how Democrats should do that earlier tonight on Hardball.
Georgia was not only ground zero for voter suppression, but also ground zero for opportunity. We can pick up 2 Senate seats, give 16 electoral votes to the Democratic nominee, and we can flip the House, the state House, as well as holding one and adding another congressional seat. Those are extraordinary opportunities, and Georgia's the place to fight voter suppression, but also fight for Democratic votes.
Jon Ossoff was the Democratic congressional candidate in a special election in Georgia in 2017 who showed us how much the political ground shifted in Georgia in the first year of the Trump presidency. Running in a district that the last Republican had won by 23 points, Jon Ossoff came within 3 points of winning that House seat, which was a big clue about the big blue wave that was to follow in the next election. When Jon Ossoff decided not to run for that seat again in 2018, Lucy McBath did run, and she is now one of the freshman Democratic members of the House who have transferred control of the House of Representatives to the Democrats tonight. Within the last hour, the Atlanta Journal-Constitution has reported that on the very day that the Abrams playbook has declared Georgia the premier battleground state in the country, Jon Ossoff has decided to heed Stacey Abrams' advice to Democrats and fight for Democrats in Georgia by running for the United States Senate. And joining us now for an exclusive interview to tell us about his decision to run is Jon Ossoff. Jon, thank you very much for joining us tonight. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
So you can confirm you are a candidate for the United States Senate in Georgia.
Tomorrow morning, I'll be announcing my candidacy for the United States Senate in Georgia. I'm excited, and I'm excited to be here tonight. Which
seat? There's 2 seats. There's the Johnny Isakson seat where he recently announced he's going to retire, and then there's Senator Perdue who's running for re-election. Which one are you going to run for?
I'll be challenging Senator Perdue. Senator Perdue, this is a guy who, in a half-decade, while children in rural Georgia, 1 out of 3 of them live in poverty, while Georgia has the highest maternal mortality rate in the country, this man has not once in 5 years come down from his private island to hold a single public town hall. He is a caricature of Washington corruption. And I'm running because we face a crisis of political corruption in this country. When 9 out of 10 Americans support universal background checks for firearms purchases, but Congress refuses to act because they're bought by the NRA, that's corruption. When the federal government is silencing its own scientists, its own environmental scientists, because their findings threaten the profitability of the fossil fuel industry, that's corruption. As power becomes concentrated in fewer and fewer hands, and wealth becomes concentrated in fewer and fewer hands, and those wealthy and powerful groups can spend limitless amounts in secret on vicious political propaganda to manipulate elections, that's corruption. I've spent the last 6 years as an investigative journalist. I lead a team that's taken on powerful corporations, ISIS war criminals, crooked judges all over the world. And we need now to mount an all-out attack on political corruption in America, or I'm not sure our democracy will survive.
What did you learn in your congressional race that you will bring into this race, and what will be the #1 policy issue in this race in Georgia?
Well, Lawrence, I was 29 when Donald Trump was elected president of the United States. And like millions of Americans who have fought and worked tirelessly since then, I didn't sit back in despair. I stood up and ran for Congress in a district where the last Democrat had lost by 23 points. And everyone counted me out. But it became one of the toughest, closest races in American political history. The National Republican Party, all the way to the president himself, made my destruction their #1 priority. And what I learned is that I will never be intimidated from telling my own story and touting my own accomplishments because of the inevitable partisan smears that come down from Washington. We have to be bold and direct and clear in the face of that kind of intimidation.
What about issues? Is health care the #1 issue in this campaign?
The interesting thing is that for all of the political division and all of the rancor that we face right now, most Georgians and most Americans agree on the solutions to our basic problems. Most Georgians and most Americans agree every American should have health care. Most Georgians and most Americans agree we have to save our environment and revolutionize our infrastructure. Most Georgians and most Americans want to get secret dark money out of politics. So the question is, if there is a consensus, why aren't these things happening? And it's because there is a political corruption deeply embedded within our system that prevents the will of the people from being expressed through their elected representatives. David Perdue is the image of Washington corruption. He retired into the Senate. I will go to the Senate to work every day for Georgians.
Jon Ossoff, thank you very much for joining us tonight. Please come back during the campaign. We want to hear more about it.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you very much. Thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on the button below for more from The Last Word and the rest of MSNBC.